G'day team, Adam Cogan here from SSW TV, and today I want to talk about TimePro and a new feature called Transfer Invoicing. Now TimePro is a great system for entering timesheets, and it produces invoices with lots and lots of details, and the best thing about it is developers don't have to do anything other than one click, which pulls through the work that they've done in their different source control systems and their bookings from CRM. So let's talk about this transfer invoicing feature, and this solves the problem when you have multiple offices in multiple countries where employees are paid by one office. And let's imagine that Jim is in the Hangzhou office. He is paid by the China office, but he's working for an Aussie client for many months. How does Hangzhou keep paying his salary when the Australian office is invoicing the customer and they receive all the dollars for his work? So what we thought is we were going to create this feature and we would make this system automatic, because if you don't have this system, then you make all these arbitrary amounts that you pay another office, or you make these systems in Excel or back of envelopes, and it's a mess just to solve all the cash flow issues. So the solution is to have some automatic system for transferring invoices. We are assuming that, when you use TimePro as an example, that all the employees from all the offices are using the one tenant, so that when you go into TimePro, you can create a tenant. That is where we're assuming all the timesheets are living. So option one is we modify TimePro. It's already in existence. It works well. We add this transfer invoicing module. It will certainly work beautifully for SSW. It will work beautifully for lots of other clients. It will take some time to build. Option two is build a separate standalone application. This has merits too. You do have to build some extra stuff like logins and stuff that already exists. But if a company does not use TimePro, that's going to be nicer, because it will hook into whatever their timesheet system is. Now, option three is to find a product that is off the shelf that already does all this. Sadly, we haven't been able to find one. That certainly would be cheaper and quicker to get going. So let's talk for the rest of the presentation about option one, which is modifying TimePro. What are we going to do? Now, that is, and by the way, most of this would work with option two as well. So option one is everybody's in one tenant, all employees. We add the transfer invoicing feature. We go into Dynamics and we update some schema there, and we use this business unit. So let's go through some examples, and we'll give a lot more details on what I've just said in the following slides. But Jim is working in the China office, and he's working for an Aussie client. He needs a transfer invoice. Now, the second scenario for Jim is he's working in the China office for a Chinese client. No transfer invoice needed. Jim could also be working on an international client, such as an American client, and that's invoiced via the Australian office. So a transfer invoice would be needed. What about Piers? He's an Aussie working for the Chinese office, which he does sometimes. He would need a transfer invoice, but that transfer invoice would be going the other way. And then we also have Piers, who also does work for Aussie clients. No transfer invoice required. Now, which parts of TimePro are impacted? There's lots of parts of TimePro, but the guts of it is there's a CRM application, which is Dynamics 365. That would need modification, as would the SQL database. There is a syncing engine that syncs those two together. That would also need updating. And then there's the guts of the whole thing, and most of the work would be in the .NET APIs and the Angular front end. Now, let's go through what is required. The first thing is these tables are going to need to be added. A transfer invoice table, a transfer invoice timesheet table, which would have just a link between that and the real timesheets, the receipts for when you get paid, and then the custom rates that you put together. I should note that every single change in this would have an audit history using the SQL temporal tables feature. Now, if you want to know the specific changes, they're the specific fields. You can have a look at that if you like. The Dynamics 365 would also need an extra field added to the projects table. And that would be an international project, or it's a local project, an Aussie project or a Chinese project, or a European project. Then you'd have an internal project, or an internal project with no transfer, because you've agreed there'll be no charging for this particular piece of work. So you can go into the user business unit and you'll already see who that person is being paid by. Are they being paid by the Aussie office, the China office, or the European office? Now, these are the menus. These menus would need to be created and they'd look something like this. So you'd see new, search, the outstanding ones that haven't been paid, the custom rates, and the report. Let's dive into these. So there's 5 options here. The first one is new, and in new, you will see that you create a new transfer invoice. It pulls in the timesheets, and then you have an invoice. That invoice will be sent to the other office. So in this case, from the Hangzhou office to the Australian office, and there you have the different clients that have had work done, which is Northwind or Acme, Wonka, and an internal project at different rates. There's the amount. One office would then send a check or a payment to the other office. Now, the technical details, if you want to know, there's some UI needs to be added, some tables, and a bunch of endpoints need to be added. Then there's this UI. So they'll need to be able to search across the list of all the invoices that have been generated. So it looks something like this. And the technical details underneath are some UI and some endpoints. Then there is drilling down into an existing one. You could then, in this search screen, click on the invoice number. It pops open this. You'd see the details of what's been generated in the past. And you'd see whether it's been paid. And then you might want to see what's outstanding, or you might receive payment and you need to say that's been paid. So you go to the combo, you choose outstanding, then you click on the button, receipt outstanding. And in this case, Anki in the China office has received some money. She would see there's 30,000. She's got a check for that exact amount. She puts the date and she presses OK. Then, they're the technical details of the UI and the endpoint. Okay, so here are the rates. We're assuming different rates for international work. That might be one rate, a local rate, and an internal rate. That'd probably be the lowest rate. So if I click the button, New Transfer Rates, you will see all these fields are editable. The first one is the from office, to office, and the different rates. Then we'll press Save. Now, if you were to edit an existing one, let's press the first one there, pop that open, and you'll see those from and to fields are grey, because it would be weird to be switching those around as well. So we've made those locked, and you can edit the rates and press Save. Now, there are the UI, the table, and the endpoints to do all that work. We have a bit of a question here. So the first question would be, how do you populate the from and the to? We could easily just add a table there. Add a table called company, and there you've got it all. That'd be quite nice. The benefits of that is it's really easy. We can put whatever fields we want. There's no dependency on Dynamics 365. There is an issue about duplication, because we've got a similar field in Dynamics, and people are going to say, why do we have that field and we have this field? They're basically the same thing. That's weird. So to solve that, you could just use the field in Dynamics. It's called Business Unit. We already use it. It's quite nice. We don't have to build the table and the UI. The only downside is some people don't use Dynamics. They use Salesforce and some other CRMs. We would have to find out the equivalent of those, and we have not done that work to investigate. The other last option that we have is the report. The report, you could choose an invoice, or you could choose a period. You would see which people have been working and what type of work they've been doing. Has it been internal or local or external, international work. And then you see the project breakdown. So between the different types of work. So that would be quite handy. To get that done, you need some UI, some endpoints, and some filters. And that's what you'll need there. So how long will this take to make? Well, you're never sure. We have done some calculations in our SSW estimates calculator. Broadly, we need 2 devs. We need a Scrum Master. It's about 4 sprints of work. That totals about 64K. So if you have some ideas or better ways of doing this, or just some questions, throw it down there in the comments so we know what they are, and maybe we can do this in a better way. So hopefully that was interesting for you. We are very keen to know anyone that would use this feature. I will see you in the next one. This is Adam Cogan signing off for SSW TV.